Today, we are going to be joined by one of the greatest football players in the history of the NFL. He's my favorite New York Jet of all time. Jets legend and Pro Football Hall of Famer Darrelle Revis joins the Jake Asman Show. So let's hit it and get it started. Damn, does it feel good to have a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
It's another freaking game. Y'all fought your asses off. That was awesome.
Revis, the rookie. Intercepted by Revis. Revis is there and picked it off. Darrelle Revis all the way home. Touchdown, New York Jets.
Welcome to Canberra, class of 2023. By the way, hit it!
We have Garrett Wilson. Let's freaking go. We have Brees Hall. We are ready to win. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super chat, baby. Cut the line. We have an elite defense. You're welcome on the Jet bandwagon. Now, let's talk about the New York Jets. This is the Jake Asman Show. Here we go. Welcome in, everybody. It is time to talk all things Jets with the great Darrelle Revis. If you're new to the show, we talk Jets every day on this channel, so smash that subscribe button on the right-hand side of your screen. And a big thank you to all the Jet fans for helping this channel reach over 30,000 subscribers. Joining us right now is, quite frankly, one of the greatest football players of all time. He'll be going into the Hall this summer in Canton, Ohio. The great Darrelle Revis joins us now. Darrelle, I can't thank you enough for the time. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Jake. I appreciate the opportunity.
So obviously there's a lot to get into with you. And for those who have not been following the story, we'll kind of do a reset here and get everyone in the know. I had Joe Klecko on this show on Monday. He, of course, will be going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well with you this summer. And I'm going to play the comment that he made on the show that you then responded to on Twitter. So I'm going to play that first, and then we'll get your take on some clarity with some of the tweets that you sent. So for those who missed it, this was my question to Joe Klecko that he then answered. And then, of course, Darrelle Revis could take it away after I play this. The history of the Jets, right? You could make a case. The two greatest players that have ever played defense for this franchise, you and Darrelle Revis, are fittingly going in to the Hall of Fame together. The best player my dad ever watched was you, and the best player I've seen in my lifetime watching the Jets was Darrelle Revis, without a doubt. Does it add to it that it's basically going to be a giant Jet fan party celebrating you and Darrelle this summer? Like, how exciting is it for you to go in with Darrelle when you guys get that opportunity to be a part of it together this summer?
Well, I said to him when we were out at the Super Bowl, this is going to be New York West for a day. You know what I mean? And we got to sit down after. And Darrelle doesn't say a whole lot, but the one thing, first comment we had, we were doing Sirius Radio, and he said, it's really cool that Joe and I, who are the two best defensive players ever to play for the Jets, are coming in together. I mean, I didn't know his mindset about us, and he didn't know much about me because it was been so long ago. I played when they didn't have face masks, so you know. but it's cool. I mean, for him and I both, we've talked about it a little bit. What football has meant to either of us, you know, getting in the Hall of Fame. A lot of people haven't really mentioned that as far as the two best defensive players ever, and to say that, it's pretty good comment, and you know, it's going to go a long way, I hope.
Okay, Darrelle, so played the clip. Obviously, you've now seen it a bunch of times. You've been hearing about it on social media. It's been covered by numerous outlets, and radio shows have talked about it. Your thoughts on what Joe Klecko said there, and then, of course, you could address the tweets that you sent out as well.
First and foremost, me and Joe, we have an age gap. We don't really know each other that very well. The type of person I am, I have a small circle. There's a backstory to the Super Bowl and what maybe took place. You know, we did sit down and do a serious radio interview. And yes, I did say some great things, and I still stand by those as well. I have a lot of business ventures going on, and I think at the time I recall, you know, Joe reaching out to me via text And as I'm in between traveling, I couldn't, we couldn't link up, via text. And I told him I'll see him out in the Super Bowl. But like I said, the backstory is him trying to basically call me out in front of a group of Pro Football Hall of Fame staffers that, I didn't kind of respond to his text in a sense. And I just didn't, I didn't really appreciate that. We have a lot going on. I know a lot of people are very busy, a lot of things going on. And one thing, I would never take anything, away from Joe Klecko in his career. He's worked hard, just like everybody else who worked hard, who's deserving. So I think there's a lot of people that are tweeting about things that they don't know about the backstory that maybe I may tweet about that they don't just really understand in that sense.
So to follow up off of that, this stems from a text that he sent you around the Super Bowl, and there's a miscommunication on you couldn't get back to him right away. Am I understanding the story?
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, I have several business ventures going on. I'm in between traveling at times, and sometimes, it's almost like that thing. We can make fun out of this because when people want your attention, they want it. And sometimes, and we're all accustomed to that as humans. And, sometimes I text people and I want people to reply very quickly. And I just didn't I didn't appreciate that based on, being in a Jets facility and in a building for the number of years that I was and never really, I guess you can say, built the relationship. We've never really talked in that sense. So the only thing that you can go off is just people's accolades and how good they were as athletes. But there's a couple other people in that building that they have showed their respects and they have opened their arms. And one of them is Joe Namath, obviously. That's just something that you got to look at this. Maybe something we can build on a relationship as we move along in this, as we are both being inducted into the Hall of Fame. So I just think a lot of comments and a lot of people and a lot of Jet fans are looking at it as there's some crazy beef going on or it's some type of issue. I don't think it's more of an issue, but it's a miscommunication based on a text message that I just didn't appreciate at the time.
So is this something that you and Joe maybe need to talk about before you go into the Hall this summer? Is this something that can be rectified maybe before you get to Canton?
Everything can get rectified. Like I said, we can make light of this in a number of ways. Like I said, I'm going back to being a human, trial and error and things that sometimes my mother calls my phone and sometimes I can't answer. We all fall under this in a sense. And, I just think there's something moving forward that we can build on. It's never to take nothing away from Joe and the things that he has accomplished in his life. We're both going in. I think Jet Nation should be excited. We have the Hall of Fame game as well. So it's a celebration for all of us. We should have a great time. We should enjoy. This content came across my page and, it's your show. And as I'm looking at it, you made me relive, a moment in time that dawned on me to make me tweet the way I tweeted in a sense about the whole entire situation. So that's my take on it.
Do you understand from maybe us as fans, us as Jet fans, that without knowing the context, how we perhaps look at those tweets and go, oh God, why does Revis have an issue with Joe Klecko? We as Jet fans don't get nice things where we have two of our greatest players ever actually going into the Hall, and we can't even do that right as Jet fans. So do you understand why the reaction was what it was based on kind of how your tweets were worded?
Absolutely. And I take full responsibility for my tweets or anything I do tweet. I'm human, I'm 37 years of age. I'll be 38 next month. And I understand that it's very sensitive for Jet Nation. And my words are taken, they're not taken lightly in a sense. And I know what position I'm in when it comes to sometimes what I do or say. But, also I'm human as well. And I reacted to your creative content on your page about something that actually took place. And it's a backstory that people don't really know about that I just didn't really appreciate at the time. I'm a very low-key guy. I move differently out here in the way I do. I have small circles. And sometimes when you do meet people, and sometimes the position that we're in as athletes is a reaction from something from you. And at the same time, we're trying to soak it all in. We just both got inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So sometimes the way I process things is a little bit different of how other people process them at that time. I've been coasting since I've been retired. I've been coasting through life, enjoying it. And for someone to really sitting down and meeting them for the first time and having that interaction. I just didn't appreciate that I need to be held to a text message when I'm out here traveling on flights and trying to work these business ventures that I'm partaking in.
All right, so we got to get you and Joe together on the phone. We got to work this out because you guys are the two of the greatest Jets players of all time, arguably the top 2 defensive players ever, and we need everyone to be singing "Kumbaya" together when we're celebrating both of you guys in Canton this summer. That sound okay?
That's what I've always planned to do, but at the same time, you know, when people don't know you very well, and when you had time to know me very well, I think that's another issue that needs to be, needs to be a discussion about. If you want to grow a bond with somebody, most of the times the first impression is everything. You know, the fans, regardless of what they say or disagree with me or agree, I still love the Jet fan base always will. New York is my second home. So in a sense of that, I don't think this needs to be taken like, oh my God, there's something wrong with Joe and Darrelle. It's just a miscommunication of me traveling at the time. And trust me, why wouldn't I want to talk to Joe Klecko through a text message in ways like that? A ton of numbers of celebrities and famous people in my cell phone. And sometimes, you reach out to people and some people don't hit you back. And it's okay. But at the same time, for us to establish a great bond going in, I think this is great. This is good. I mean, we're 2 defensive players, and I'm sure he would have loved to play with me as well as I would have loved to play with him, watching him sacking the quarterback as well as he see me catching interceptions. So at the same time, it would have probably been a great duel. I'm excited for him. It's more than anybody. I'm a big fan of the sport. I love what everybody do. I think we're all creative in our own respective ways. And for me, this is just a new chapter for me that I'm going into as well. And I look at things in a different perspective. I've been retired for 5 years, and I'm dabbling into a lot of other things business-wise. So I just look at things from a different perspective. So I do not want the Jet fan base to be upset. We have a lot of great things going with the roster this year. Aaron Rodgers is there. It's a lot of great things going on. For me, at the same time, my insanity is for me to make sure going into this next chapter that I'm fully open myself to new opportunities.
Final question on this before we move on and talk about your career. Is there anything that you would personally want to say or personally want to address with Joe Klecko that you'd want him to know if he's watching right now?
I've already addressed it. I think, like I said, again, it's just really about the bond. It's about relationships. It has nothing to do with me about anything else. I never said nothing negative about Sauce Gardner. Sauce is just doing his credit. It's 2 different age gaps. It's 2 different timelines. We do have to put that into a perspective as well. But I can respect another man playing in a different timeline than me. At the same time, I think sometimes younger athletes, we don't get that just due sometimes from the OGs of the game.
Let's move on now to your career, and I appreciate you addressing the Klecko stuff. We had him on, so for you to be able to come on this show and give the first interview to clarify things, we certainly appreciate that here. Let's go back to draft day. The Jets trade up for you. What's going through your mind when Mike Tannenbaum and Eric Mangini are making moves to move all the way up to number 14 to select you?
With the 14th pick in the 2007 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Darrelle Revis, cornerback, Pittsburgh.
There was mixed feelings between the Jets fans. There was some boos and there was some cheers. I accept that challenge like any other. I think if you look back on the way I played the game and approached it, I felt I was the best. I played like I was the best.
Intercepted by Revis.
You have to believe that. That's self-motivation. I tie my cleats on. I put my shoulder pads on. I put my helmet on, and I go out there with the intention to be the best. If I don't really speak on saying I'm the best all the time, a lot of fans don't really hear that from me because I take a different approach. I'm allowed to be proud of my accomplishments because I put the time in. I put the 24 hours in. I put the late hours in. I did all the things that I needed to do, and I can look back on my career and say, they rate you as one of the best that ever do it. And I'm allowed to speak that and walk that every day. And I'm so grateful that I'm in that type of position. There are ups and downs. When I first got drafted, it was amazing. It was a dream come true for me. It's all the hard work coming from the University of Pittsburgh. Everything that I was destined to do, all the hype, everything coming in, I stood up to the hype, and now I am the hype.
This guy is just unbelievable.
That really sums it up for me. It was a great time to be drafted by the New York Jets at the 14th pick overall in 2007. And I think the rest is history out there.
Guess who, Mike? Darrelle Revis. He does it all for the New York Jets.
I think that is fair to say. So I want to get into specifically your 2009 season, Darrelle. As a diehard Jet fan, and I told you this off air, I probably have seen every single snap you ever played with the Jets. I would argue the 2009 season that you put forth with Rex Ryan in year one in that defense was the greatest season a cornerback has ever had in the history of football. And it's highway robbery that you did not win Defensive Player of the Year that year. I could say you don't have to, but I got to make sure that I say that to your face. Take me back to that season, because that, of course, is the season where you fully got the nickname Revis Island. And as you just said, the rest is history.
I mean, that was a great year. Not just for individual accolades. There was a lot of team accolades and goals, and we had a great team under Rex Ryan and great coaching staff. We had great players. We can go through that roster. I mean, we went to 2 AFC championship games, and I mean, obviously we didn't come out the way we wanted to. That does not sum up my entire career. One of the biggest highlights in my career, 2009, and it was a special year. It was not just a special year for me. It was a special year for a lot of great guys. Charles Woodson won the Defensive Player of the Year. He played well. I played well. If you ask the Jet fans, I don't think they believe he deserved it. They think I deserve it. You have to give credit where it's due. I don't have an issue with that. Rewards and accolades are passed out every day in corporate America, also in scholastic sports and sports in general. So right now I'm enjoying my time as I'm going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I'm excited about it. And sometimes you can't have all the accolades, and I don't even think that year that was on my mind to even push towards that type of accolade. I don't even think Charles Woodson was going for that type of accolades either. I think guys were just really passionate about playing the game of football that they love, and the best one is going to come out on top. Charles Woodson happened to come out on top, and that's great. It's good for the game. I believe it's good for the sport as well.
All right, I'm going to put the graphic on the screen, Darrelle. You know exactly what graphic this is. This is one of the greatest images in the history of the Jets. Go through this list here. Andre Johnson, Randy Moss, Marcus Colston, Terrell Owens, Torrey Holt, Steve Smith, Reggie Wayne, Ocho Cinco. I mean, the amount of Hall of Famers that you went toe-to-toe with and shut down during this year. I mean, as a Jet fan, I get chills when I see this graphic. What goes through your mind?
Man, I tell you, unreal. I just think it's just the hard work, put into off seasons and finally coming into my own. 2009 is, I believe, being a complete player. I was able to tackle well. I just approached everything as just trying to be very dominant at everything I did. I didn't want to try to have any weaknesses in my game. Your study habits, the way you approach the game, and it worked out for me. I had a chip on my shoulder. I wanted to come in and prove that I can play amongst the best, and it happened to turn out very well.
I think that's fair to say. Now, my favorite part of your season that year is the last game of the regular season. You're going up against Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco, and then since you guys beat the Bengals to get into the playoffs, you had to face them again in Cincinnati the following week, and you shut him down back-to-back weeks. Can you take us through what your preparation was like for facing Chad Johnson, and how did you go out there and execute in consecutive weeks and shut him down?
I look at the game plan itself. I think we came up with a great game plan. The coaching staff did. The players, we bought into it. My matchup was always kind of highlighted as I would travel with guys, receivers on the left side of the field or the right side of the field. And it was a spectacle. It was a big-time matchup, and there was a lot of trash talk going on between Chad and I. And, our defense lived up to the hype. We really did. We lived up to the hype. That was our time for us to shine, and we proved that we was one of the best defenses that year.
And there again is Darrelle Revis.
You guys were number one in the league that year. You go all the way to the championship game with Rex Ryan in year one. What was your experience like playing for Rex, not even just that season, but in your career, and obviously being a part of some of the best defenses the Jets have ever had?
I'm honored, man. I'm really am. I'm honored. I'm grateful.
The last time the Jets made the playoffs was the 2010 season, and you were a huge part of that. That summer when the Jets were on Hard Knocks, it was dominated by your holdout situation with the organization. Now, I'm going to put the headline of the Daily News when you eventually re-signed. I mean, when you finally did re-sign and you looked at that 2010 team, did you realize how good you guys were going to be that year? Did you have expectations coming off that 2009 year, going to the championship game, and losing to Peyton Manning and the Colts, that you guys were a legitimate Super Bowl contender going into that season?
Yeah, we felt confident. Obviously, our record probably wasn't as best as everyone wanted it to be. But, for us, we really believed in our system. We really believed in each other as players. And going back-to-back AFC Championship games, that's something to really build on as a team. The front office kind of kept our team together. And when the roster did get dismantled at one point, a lot of us inside the building believed that, we could have, maybe for a third trial, we could have kept that nucleus and that team and that roster together. And we could have squeezed out a Super Bowl.
That season, you guys go into New England Monday night, 9-2 versus 9-1. I think it was. It was a battle for first place in the AFC East. And it might have been the lowest moment I've had as a Jet fan, the 45-3 debacle in New England. What happened that night? And then can you share the story about Rex Ryan getting the team together and having to bury the football after all that?
Rex is a great dude. He's done a lot for the organization, I would say. Earlier in that season, we got embarrassed. So everybody understands that. And, Rex decided to bury that ball. I think we lost about 45-3 in that sense. So
that win against the Patriots in the playoffs, that's the last playoff win this franchise has had. What about that game stands out when you think back to it, and how big of a motivating factor was what happened the last time you went to Foxborough, that 45-3 game that you were just discussing?
We just came motivated, and we ended up getting the victory. And
to all the non-believers, to all the non-believers,
Bart Scott, did a great job.
Anybody can be beat. We're pissed off. People gave us no chance, like we barely made it in playoffs. We're a good football team.
Post-game interview, and shout out to Bart.
For all you non-believers, disrespect us, talk crap about the defense like we ain't the third best defense in the league. All we hear is about their defense. They can't stop a nosebleed. 25th in the league, and we the one to get disrespected.
Yeah, he said the can't wait quote, and it's great.
Congratulations. See you in Pittsburgh.
Can't wait.
What's up, brother? It's a great game. I think it was a great team victory. It was a great victory for the organization at the time. And we felt at that time that we were a better team. And obviously, the Patriots were rolling at that time as well. It was just a dogfight, and it's very tough to win in Foxborough, obviously, and we came out and did that.
From a Jet fan perspective, we've had nothing. Yeah, the Jets had the longest playoff drought in sports. That's why a guy like Aaron Rodgers coming on board and seeing what Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson did last year, and I'll ask you about Sauce. There's hope, and that 2010 team was the last time that we as fans felt like, hey, we have a chance to win the whole thing, and that's what we've been missing for such a long time as diehard fans, as this fan base is.
I think it's pretty great that the organization is making the right decisions when it comes to building a roster. And you have to give credit to Joe Douglas. You have to give credit to Robert Saleh. If I was in shape, I would probably love to play under Joe and under Robert. But, I know Joe comes from, the Baltimore Ravens, and he's been mentored very well. And, he can bring that type of energy in the building for the new guys. And I think they're doing great. I mean, last year, they were 6-3, and then things started to unravel a little bit, but it's a new year. It's a new season. It's a new hope. Aaron Rodgers is a huge addition to what New York is trying to build. All we can do is sit back and be spectators and watch great football.
Do you look at Rodgers as a guy that can lead this Jets team to their first Super Bowl since January 1969?
He's capable of many things, I can say. His resume speaks for itself. I mean, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm sure New York is happy to have him. It's pretty cool to have that franchise guy. I'm sure it'd be great for Zach to steal some of the Aaron Rodgers magic and maybe some techniques that Aaron is teaching him and things and whatnot. And, it's all about growth, right? I think they have the right pieces. I think they do.
You obviously played with Tom Brady, so you know what an all-time great quarterback could do for a football team. From a Jet perspective, right, could Aaron Rodgers come in and with a team that won 7 games last year, had a top 5 defense, can he make everyone around him better, even defensive guys who aren't on that side of the field when he plays? Can he make this entire organization better now that he's at quarterback?
Absolutely. He has so many tangibles in his game that you just marvel over. In a sense, when you turn on the film. Aaron Rodgers has always proven and shown that he's one of the best to ever do it. In my experience playing with the best ever and Tom Brady, as a defense, you rest a little bit more. Coming from the Jets, I was playing about 70 to 80 snaps. Our defense was, and we were. And playing with Tom is a significant boost for the team and organization in general. And, I think we were playing about 50 to 55 snaps with Tom Brady. So those are the tangibles that I'm talking about, that if you have a franchise quarterback, these are some of the type of things they bring to an organization.
Sauce Gardner, I got to ask you about the Jets rookie corner, first team All-Pro as a rookie, Darrelle. If there's one thing as Jet fans we know pain, we know disappointment. We also know what elite corner play looks like. We got to watch your career, and we're now having the privilege of watching Sauce's career. What stood out when you watched his rookie season? Just how good could this guy be?
He can be as good as whatever he puts his mind to. He has all the tangibles. He's very athletic. He can do anything. For the most part, I like the energy. I like the energy that the team has. I like the energy that Breece Hall has, Sauce, Garrett Wilson. It's amazing to see. I think those guys just got to keep building and competing with each other. I'm sure they are in practice. I'm sure they're competitive guys. And this is how you get better. I mean, even playing with Tom Brady, it's competition nonstop every snap. So these are the type of things that will get a lot of those guys better. And those guys seem like they love football. And that's the biggest thing, is loving the game of football. So you come out there every day with a purpose and a mission.
Do you see any similarities in Sauce Gardner's game and your game when you watch him?
I know people would love that answer or want a comparison. I look at the DB position a little bit different. I break it down in different categories. Like, for example, Rod Woodson is incredible. He played corner, he played safety. He's super athletic. He's a playmaker. I put him in the same category as Charles Woodson. Probably put myself in the same category as Deion Sanders, because that's somebody I looked up to and tried to mimic my game after and try to take everything I could possibly from Deion. So I think, Sauce just needs to find his niche in what he wants to be as a playmaker, as a defender, and he can continue to do that over time. He's still a rising star, and he just has to continue to have that love and passion for the game and not lose it and just continue to keep working. If I was in his position, I would line up against Garrett Wilson every snap if I could, because those are the two best rising stars at their positions. Best on best. And then you have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback. What better scenario you want to be in? It's pretty cool for all of them.
So Sauce came out and he said that going through the draft process and growing up, he studied your film. You were one of the guys that he tried to model part of his game around. Does that mean something to you, Darrelle? Because you said you grew up trying to model your style around Deion and watched his film. So what does it mean to you now being a Hall of Famer that here's Sauce Gardner, the new guy, perhaps on his way to having a great career, looked at you as an inspirational figure?
No, I think that's pretty cool in a sense, because sometimes you never know who's watching, right? The game never changed, just the names on the back of the jersey do. You have to look at it like that, and I do. I'm a very competitive person. The competitive edge for him is the same. He wants to come out here and he wants to prove himself and be the best, and he has all right, just as everybody else on the roster have all right to get the best out of this situation that you're in. You're living your dream. And this is something you worked hard for, and you have to continue to stay on top of it. From the look of his play, he looks very competitive, and that's good as him coming into a leadership role now, that hopefully that can rub off on a lot of his teammates as well by the way he plays and approaches the game.
Your career, you had a lot of interceptions. You made a lot of plays. Is there one that you think about the most? Is there one that stands out beyond all the ones that you had in your Hall of Fame career?
No, because I'm expected to make those plays. That was never a doubt in a sense. I have nightmares about the interceptions I dropped or a pass breakup that you thought you was in position to make a play on it, and it didn't happen. So the high school, I'm from Aliquippa High School, and one of the historical high schools and football programs in Pennsylvania. We got to say it, big players make big plays in big games. That's always stuck to me through high school, through college, and obviously I was able to use that in the pros as well and use that quote as much as I could. So
you had a lot, obviously. The one that I think of right away is September 11th, the 2011 home opener, 10th anniversary of 9/11, of course.
Play with passion tonight. Communicate and let's ball. Ball out on 3. 1, 2, 3, ball out.
You're facing the Cowboys. You're locking up Des Bryant, and you have a game-winning interception that sets up the Nick Folk kick for you guys to start 1-0 that year. Jets obviously playing on Monday night on September 11th this year to start the season. Could you take us through that game? Because, I mean, NFL Films has such a great sound effects of you and Dez going at it, and I think every Jet fan loved watching you go toe-to-toe with him that evening.
That was a great game. I think it was a great game for the city. It was a very emotional night for 9/11. My son's birthday is actually on 9/11 too, so it put me in a different space for me personally as well, knowing how emotional that night was. Coming into that game, Dez Bryant wasn't my matchup. Antonio Cromartie was the guy coming into the game. I think on that time I was on Miles Austin. That was because the coaching staff and us being in meetings, we felt that, Miles was receiving a lot of the balls, a lot of the touches in the offense. So, Rex would come to you and say, we need you to just try to erase him from the game. And I took up that task anytime, and the same approach that a lot of the other secondary guys had too. So I think I had to switch on him a little later on in the game. We made the coaching adjustment. I have so much respect for Dez Bryant. I have so much respect for Tony Romo. Thank you for throwing the ball right to me.
Romo rolling right, throws right sideline, intercepted, picked up by Revis, down the sideline, at the 40.
Got a lot of respect for those guys in that sense. It was a great game. We had to come back. We were behind, and it was good. I think it was a great win for the organization in the city. I think just huge. It was a memorable night, and we will all never forget.
Toughest matchup in your career? Who's the guy that you were facing and oh man, this is gonna be a battle out there today?
Every week is always tough. It's always been that way. I'm just glad I just do not have to partake in that much more. You'll always miss the game because you put so much time, dedication, and effort into it. But at the same time, I'm just glad the organization was able to put pieces, draft great guys, great players like Sauce, C.J. Mosley's on the team, a lot of great guys, Brees Hall. And right now, it seems like the approach is win now. There's an opportunity. There's a window of opportunity, and I'll be right there, spectating, watching, and hopefully enjoying some great football.
The Jake Asman Show is now presented by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is a daily fantasy app made simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players' projections and build your lineup in seconds. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And PrizePicks is already offering NFL futures, including futures for New York Jets players. Take a look at the lineup that you see on the screen. Garrett Wilson, more than 4.5 reception touchdowns. David Bailey, he's going to have at least 7 sacks his rookie year. Arvell Reese, almost a Jet. I think he'll have at least 3 sacks in his rookie year with the Giants. That is a 3-pick power play, $10 to pay out $60. That is just an example of some of the lineups you can make over at PrizePicks. Make your own lineups today for any sport. Just download the PrizePicks app, use the code HMA, and get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. You are a Jet, and obviously, some of this was out of your control. You get hurt in 2012, and new management comes in and they trade you to Tampa. But, in your career, when you think back to it, Darrelle, like if it was up to you, would you have been a Jet for every year of your career? Was it your preference to stay in New York your whole career if you had the opportunity to do so?
Yeah, I'm going to have to save that answer for another time. I mean,
that's not the answer we want to hear, Darrelle.
You do have great questions, so I'm not taking that from you. It's just I think I want to speak about that in a different time and manner.
Your speech for the Hall of Fame. I saw there was some news today. The Hall of Fame posted the official announcement that your mom is going to be your presenter when you get up there and give your speech. So walk us through the decision to have your mom be your Hall of Fame presenter. And have you thought about what your personal speech is going to look like and sound like when you get to make it in early August?
She's super excited. She's been here throughout my entire life, my whole process. And I'm happy for her as well. It's a new type of energy for her. She's excited. She's watched the struggles. She's watched the successes of my career. She watched me come home, be all beat up. It's very special. It's going to be a very special moment, for us and my family, and we'll be able to enjoy it. And everybody else is more than welcome to partake and enjoy with the celebration as well.
I asked Joe Klecko if he thinks he's maybe going to cry during his speech, and he says he wasn't sure because they give you such a strict amount of time that you got to be able to get everything in. What's your answer to that, Darrelle? Do you think you might tear up, get emotional during the speech?
I have no clue. I think those things are They happen in the moment. If they do, if they don't, they don't. But at the same time, I don't really know. There's going to be a lot going on. It's going to be, they have parades going on. They have all these other events. So it's going to be very busy and a lot of stuff happening. So
Drew writes in, who's your pick for the best cornerback and wide receiver of all time?
Great question. Man.
Hey, you could say yourself for corner. I'd argue in your prime there was nobody better.
I don't know. What does he think?
I love it. What a political answer there. Daniel writes in, Darrelle, are you considering joining the coaching ranks at some point? No better to teach than a technician like yourself.
Sometimes that's what people want to see. Like I said, I'm very competitive, so my competitive meter is very, very high. Sometimes your high standards is sometimes not. It might not be what that might need to be at the moment.
I'm looking up to you for a while, man. The way you play, it's unbelievable.
I love the game. I want to win. I want to win every game. I want to win every snap. That's in the perfect world, which really doesn't exist. During my career, I don't think I played very well, but personally, and this is my personal assessment, I could have played more and better in different ways. I had a lot of hamstring injuries. I had a lot of other things going on playing man-to-man coverage a lot of times, but I still persevered and was able to weather through that storm at times. And I think playing a lot of man-to-man coverage did shorten my career. Still great because I still was able to be acknowledged for the way I approached and the way I played the game at a very, very high level.
Gator writes in, and let me tell you, Darrelle, I know Gator well. He is as big of a fan of you and your career as anyone out there. He writes in, you tweeted about starting your own podcast. Who are your dream guests to have on? Thanks for the memories. Jets wins are hard to come by, but you help keep us in the game and proud. Love you, man.
That's one of my several business ventures that I'm currently working on. And I did tweet about that. I'm glad that you're following me and paying attention to what I tweet here and there. And I appreciate it. I hope you tune in when I create my own podcast, and hopefully we can have a great time and a blast talking about a lot of these topics. I think for me, my topics would vary. It would just not focus on sports. I think it would vary into a lot of lifestyle discussions and a lot of things that I'm interested in as a person, me being the host of it and bringing people on. Jake, you can come on if you want to. Joe Klecko can come on. Anybody can come on, and it's going to be an open format. But I'm interested in a lot of people and their art form and their creativity, how they became who they are. And I'm a big believer in that. I think we're all kind of that superheroes. We have our own superpowers in our way. And I like to dive into that because for me personally, I think that helps me develop and grow the way that I want to grow in life. So
I'll tell you who will not be coming on, Darrelle. Richard Sherman. We're not having him on the podcast. We can't. There's just no way. I mean, no way.
You spicy. Look, you gonna throw that name?
What do you mean? He blocked me on Twitter. I defended Your Honor like 8 years ago, and he blocked me on Twitter. I mean, come on now. You're my guy. Richard Sherman can't hold a candle to what you did in your career. And when people try to compare you guys, I get annoyed. I mean, you got more talent in your pinky than Richard Sherman ever had, and he's a great player, probably going to go to the Hall of Fame. But to say that he was better than Darrelle Revis, that drove me nuts. And yeah, he blocked me. So I got your back, Darrelle.
Oh, well, I appreciate you, having my back. I always found that interaction very confusing for me, only because we play the same position. So it's not like I can see if I was a wide receiver and he was a DB, or he was a wide receiver and I was a DB, and there's kind of like a Chad Ochocinco, Darrelle Revis trash talk or whatnot. I come from an era growing up with Champ Bailey and those guys and, some of the other greats. So those torches get passed to you. And I think at that time, I think he was premature in trying to have the torch pass for him when I was injured at the time. And I thought that was very disrespectful in a way, especially of us playing the same position. And at the same time, I don't have an issue with him. My opinion is a little different from how he used to try to create a narrative in his own narrative. That's like me going back and forth with Champ Bailey. You don't do those type of things. You kind of have a little different type of respect. And then you're going to say, well, you and Joe is something. And it's like, well, that was a different scenario and a different place and time. Because you can't look at everything all the same. Has he played well? Has he done his thing? Yeah. But, I mean, I didn't have to say much because it seemed like you had my back and you told him what it was.
Back straight up. You're the only receiver on my side.
You know, your career, though, Darrelle, I think that's what made you so great. You let your play do the talking. You know, you weren't like a showboat guy. You didn't have like elaborate celebrations after you had an interception or a big pass defense. You kind of just let your play do the talking. And I think that's what, Jet fans really respected about you. Like we had your back because you went out there and, I mean, you were the most consistent thing we had in our lives during your run. Like we knew every single Sunday you were going to eliminate the number one receiver on the team that the Jets were playing.
You're totally 100% true. Sometimes it throws people off in a way because now I'm more vocal. I'm talking because I've had time away from the game to reflect on a lot of things that, through my career and through my journey, and some things that went well, some things that didn't go too well, some things I feel different about still to this day that are unanswered or whatnot, and hopefully I can be able to find them answers in my next chapter. But at the same time, I'm coasting through life, Jake. I'm coasting through life, and I know a lot of people do hold me to a higher standard about certain things, and it's okay. I'm fine with that too because it's all growth and everything I'm trying to do, and I want people to grow with me and not sit here and always make it like it's a negative comment, or as sometimes on the inside, people can't see the backstories or things that are really taking place and what's going on.
What would be, your final message to the Jet fans that are tuned in now, that are definitely going to be watching this later? Obviously you're going to the Hall of Fame coming up this summer. So what is your message to all the Jet fans that supported you in your career?
No, just continue to support, go to my foundation website, www.DarrelleRevisFoundation.org. I've been feeding kids for the last decade. It's been amazing for me and my staff and team members. We've been doing well. I want the Jet fans and Jet Nation to support my growth and follow me along the journey in the movement.
Well, Darrelle, I can't thank you enough coming on the show, giving us an hour of your time. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you coming on this show, given the fact the Klecko interview happened on Monday here, and obviously you giving us the first interview since means a lot. So, I speak on behalf of every Jet fan. We cannot wait to celebrate you and Joe in Canton this summer. I'm going to be there, and it's going to be an incredible moment for us as fans, and obviously for you and your entire family. So thank you for coming on, and you're always going to be a Jet no matter what anyone says. So we are grateful that you're part of our history.
I'm still loved in New England too.
We don't need to bring that part up.
Okay, man. Thank you.
He's Darrelle Revis. My name is Jake Asman. If you'd like the conversation with Darrelle, then make sure you hit the like button. You can follow Darrelle on Twitter @Revis24. Check out his foundation. Jet fans, let's raise some money for Darrelle since he was so nice to come on the show. Hit the subscribe button if you're new. For Darrelle Revis, this is Jake Asman saying thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you soon.